So this is not an 80s club in Dallas that you wear your Z Cavaricis for, then you peg your jeans at the bottom and have the flock of seagulls hair.
Yeah,
That's
but be careful.
Mistral.
I started my career at the Lowe's Anatole, the home of what? Mistral.
Yeah.
Welcome to the AI show from Think Labs. In the whirlwind of AI advancements and innovation, we do the deep dives and all the research, so you don't have to. We Fisher-Price the essential news, updates, interviews, and breakthroughs of the week, providing actionable insight that impacts you, your teams, and your companies. Now, let's get started. Here's your hosts, Sam Stanton and Robbie Sawyer.
Okay, so this thing says 9 hours left. We got enough time on there. Here we go.
I would hope so.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 7. While they weren't week to week to week as much as we'd hoped, we're back, Robbie.
We're back.
Number 7.
Number 7.
We've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today.
You're back in the saddle, so to speak.
Back in the saddle, back in the studio.
How long does it take for you to get your land legs back after being on the water for 2 weeks?
Well, that's funny. I don't have a problem with that. But Mom, like the minute we got off the ship, she was swerving. And then she was trying to blame it 2 days later, but I think she had a lot of wine at dinner.
Really? Good for her. Yeah.
So anyway, I don't
If I
have
was
any
on the
problem.
ship with you for 2 weeks, I'd have to have a lot of wine. Well, that's good. She's doing good, though.
That was the best experience ever. She needed that. We all needed that. We all had good fun. And Mom kept up with everyone, and we got to see all of Greece. Some ancient old stuff.
Really?
Yeah. And you know, that probably can take us right into our famed segment that people are copying and duplicating everywhere, Robbie.
Yeah.
We like to call Pulse.
Pulse.
And that's the pulse of people using, talking about, and boy, were they talking about AI on that cruise, and has a lot of other people as of late.
Well, why don't you set the table on exactly what the cruise was, why you were there?
For those that did not attend the last webcast, which came live from some island in the middle of nowhere.
I think you were off the coast of Turkey somewhere.
Okay. We joined our friends and partners, Silver Sea, to provide a bunch of education and experiential learning, if you will, doing both thinkers and that thinkers workshop, which that always blows me away. It just hits people so hard.
And we seem to touch on it on every podcast, so we should at some point dedicate an entire podcast to thinkers.
we probably should, because it becomes somewhat commonplace for us, and we talk about it, and maybe it's hard for people to soak in as to what it is or why you would do it. But man, it is first of all, it's fun to do, but second, people really gain a lot from that. So I'm happy to see, as we're getting ready for 2024, we've got a bunch of thinkers workshops and thinkers action studios gonna happen. So that'll be fun doing that, because everyone's thinking outside the box now, Robbie.
No, they should.
Yeah.
They should be.
So our question for all those box thinkers is really, how do you do that? How do you demonstrate that? How do you prove that? And that's what Thinkers Society does, with some cool activations on site, like a 14-foot tall inflatable brain. Now, we did not take the brain to Greece, but we did take personalized workbooks for everybody, which that's always a big fun and a big wow. And then we went through what Thinkers is and how to help people unlock their creativity and get back to that.
Yeah.
So
It'll be fun. We're actually doing a big Thinkers event right off the rip.
Yeah.
In January.
Like January 2nd. Yeah. Put down your martini after New Year's.
Beautiful Biltmore in Phoenix.
So that was fun, and then we had a couple more days of seeing really old stuff, and then we came back and did our quick start AI.
Okay.
So we know the reaction to that, and we know people get excited by that. It was fun for me because while it was a small group, I had a lot of, shall we say, apprehensive, and I had a lot of naysayers.
Okay.
And then I also had a lot of people who were already drinking the Kool-Aid before we got there. They were really excited to learn about that.
So give me an example of the naysayers, because it seems like those vary depending on the group you're with, depending on the situation.
Well, not the naysayers were, and it's not their fault. I mean, the information they've gotten has not been positive. Oh, this is going to be good.
And it depends
things.
on the industry too, right?
Yeah, and it's not. And to our big point, we always say to people, you can't really make your opinion on something until you have an understanding of what it is. So people are making opinions on headlines, and headlines are never meant to be good. They're meant to be shocks.
Yep.
And so they're making their opinion there. And on top of all of that mess, they have no understanding or relevance as to how it will affect them at all.
And how to use it.
And how to use it.
Yeah.
So big eye-opener for sure, and had great fun with that. And as we go, because remember, Robbie, we've barely been doing this a year. Barely a year. As we go, the examples and the demonstrations just get better and better and more relevant and bigger wow and bigger aha. And that definitely happened. Now, the thing that also happened, which could be bad for some, but you know me, it's not a problem for me, is that normally after one of these workshops, more than any workshop we've ever done, we get endless Q&A. Well, I had endless Q&A and so many enlightened people with bright ideas, which they were, for the next several days after that.
Okay.
Which spurred on some facilitations of like, okay, I got it. That was really cool. But is it really that simple? And how would I use it for this?
Yeah, dude, you must have been literally, you were in hog heaven, I'm sure. Exhausted from talking all day.
Yeah, but it's fun when you literally walk into a pitch black room and click, turn on the light bulb, and you just watch people go, oh.
Yeah, it's like when you walk in, throw a hand grenade on the ground. And
yeah, and they're like, well, I really want to sit down with you and just show you. Oh, here's a great one. So, Adam, the cruise director. So if you remember on Love Boat, that would have been, what's her name?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway. So he is responsible for every day charming all of the passengers and letting them know where they're going to be.
Okay.
And here's what you need to know about this place. You know where I'm going on this.
Yeah.
And then he does an incredibly competitive quiz every day, trivia game.
Okay.
Where you got all these groups fighting each other. I didn't participate in that.
Like location type trivia stuff?
No, yeah, I mean, hopefully he looks at the demographic and you know, who was the third queen of whatever, or you know, what Zeus or what god from Greece did this, or you know, hopefully he does that. Okay. But now you got to remember, Silver Sea is a massive global brand, so he also has different audiences on the ships week to week.
Yeah, super high end too, right? Like 5-star.
Crazy high end.
Sure.
And I need you to tailor stuff to me because I'm the most important person on the ship, and that's all we heard all week. You know, I've been on this ship 75 days, or I've been here, and this is my 19th cruise, and you know, on whatever.
Okay.
But I sat there with Adam, who, like everyone says, hey, I don't have a lot of time. I got to figure out another time to do this with you real quick. And I said, hey, just real quick. And I did a demonstration. I need to do a welcome to everyone to Rhodes, Greece. What do I need to do? Make it a minute long, go. There it is, right? Oh, Adam, your audience is all Japanese
and he
this
had
week?
he had not, sorry to interrupt you, but he had not utilized generative AI at all.
At all.
Okay.
At all.
Okay.
So he's like looking at me like, what? And then I was like, oh, your audience is all Japanese? Can you translate that to Japanese?
Yeah, he must have been mind blown.
Okay, can you voice that? And then it voices the script in Japanese.
Of course.
So and then you see the wheels turning. No, this is not taking away your job. They still need people shaking hands and making people comfortable and guiding the AI.
Right.
But he was, at that point, like completely in. So, I mean, that was a really fun one. and they're just endless. I told you about my new best friend Gardner and some of the stuff we were doing around.
Yeah, we
that.
talked about him last week, but still that was amazing too.
And did we talk last week about using assist around not only getting insight and an understanding of your interactions, but using it to refine?
Yeah, I think we talked briefly about that because we were discussing a little bit about what we're doing with MPI.
Okay.
But even that gets fine tuned almost on a daily basis.
So let me just recap in case we have a new subscriber.
Yeah.
Do subscribe. There's a button somewhere that you have to hit so that you can subscribe and see all that.
Right.
If you do that, Robbie and I would really appreciate it. I think. Do we care?
Yeah. We care. Yeah, we care.
Oh, we care. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So assist. So fascinating for interactions, but really powerful for you to understand if your voice and your message and your presentation is on point. So you fire up this app, you hit a button, it records everything. But Robbie, it's doing more than just taking notes, right? So it's listening to inflection, it's listening to tone, it's listening to pace, it's listening to reaction, it's listening to your stammering, and whatever you're maybe doing, okay? And it applies that to the audience and then we do something that we call BAR, which is the Boggler Assist Rating, using psychological, social, communication, and cognitive sciences to look at an interaction to see how much impact was actually made.
Right.
So that sounds great, but why do you need that? It's just data? Well, it's not data, because that's put into an algorithm that then spits out and says, boy, when you made this presentation, you really connected when you've said this. That example that you gave was way too long, and you lost the audience at this point.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's like having your 8th grade teacher there just reviewing everything you're doing and slapping your hand with a ruler going, man, you missed it here, here, and here.
Yeah, I need to record my interactions with my 15-year-old son. And
yeah. No, I mean, no joke.
Right.
And like you did with Pi, it'll say, yeah, you're on fleek or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it will.
I got you, fam.
Because it's, yeah, exactly. Because it's got that context
sure.
that it applies to it. And so that was fun. So our MPI friends, made a big presentation and then did the BAR review. And the review said, hey, you did this and this and this. But then they took that and then threw it on the presentation and said, now I got to present to this completely different audience. What should I change up? And it was mind-boggling how precise it was in its prescription.
And it's assist powered by Boggler.
It is assist powered by Boggler.
So where are we at with assist and the actual app?
Well, we are at the point where we need
we're so close.
Well, we're more than close. I mean, we got it like yesterday or whatever, and holy cow. I mean, the stuff, it should not work like it's working. So you can see in real time it doing live transcription. And I beat on the team because it was doing it before, but man, it was not very precise and it would miss words. But as Robbie and everyone here at the studio saw yesterday, I set it up in one corner and was running from room to room, and it picked up everything I was saying.
Yep.
And then Robbie was doing some extra noise today, and it was still picking up everything. So it listens, it records, it transcribes, and that's all working. And then it sends it off to Boggler to provide all the insight, and that is phenomenal. The algorithm or recipes for all that stuff that I was explaining are so freaking dead on. It's amazing. And then the pulling it back in so you can see it in the app instantly is happening. There's a little tweaks that they're doing there, but we are at a point where we need to find several people that they can join our beta, and we'll give them assist. They'll download it, and they just need to go put it to use.
Yeah, and not be afraid to reach out and give us their thoughts.
Yeah, and tell us, that's stupid, this doesn't work, or what about this, or have you thought about that? I'd be really interested to hear. There's little stylizing things and this color is not right and all that stuff, but the basic functionality is there. And with that, I think we'll do a really fast beta run that'll be maybe a week or two.
Yeah, the cool.
And then that sucker goes live.
Yeah, I mean, and the cool thing, at least in our own internal testing here, is just the easy accessibility to it. You know, the fact that it is an app, the fact that it's literally boom, open the app, hit record, and you're off to the races.
So on the ship, I started one of the presentations with, I just want to let you know that I have my intelligent assistant taking notes of all of our meeting today, which I'll share with you as soon as we're done.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've done. I'm gonna, letting folks know that I'm capturing our interaction. And gonna share, the outcome of the call or Zoom or whatever.
So that's just blah 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 blah. Okay, so the minute I'm done, I share to screen.
Yeah. Okay, you did that?
I did,
okay.
And said, "Here you go. Here's what we got," and I followed up in the email because it writes a stupid email for you.
Right.
And I shared it and said, here's what we just did. So forget the whole presentation. I mean, it was amazing, of course, Robbie.
Right.
We're very proud of that. But forget all of that. You don't need any understanding, and you don't even have to say the word or the two words AI. You just show that and say, is there value?
Yeah. No, for sure.
And then I don't care how non-AI or how biased you are, you got to have that. And I shared it with my, that story of my neighbor with, who's he's a fellow at Abbott Labs.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, he was boggled. I love it when we get to say that. He was boggled, Robbie, because he sat there and you could just see the wheels turning like, oh my gosh. I mean, I could use this, and so he just started throwing it out. I could use this when I'm doing research because I've just got stream of consciousness thoughts, which is what I use it for all the time. But I can use it in the endless meetings I have to go to,
yeah.
Which I spend so much time then having to recap and here's this and this, and then the way in which it takes the notes, which that's advanced too. We're now following the Cornell note-taking science, which is a whole special crazy science. He goes, that would be beneficial. Anyway, so that's where that is. But that'll, I think, segue us into our next new section that you don't know anything about, because purposely I wanted to do this to get your reaction, because it'll be similar to, I think, the majority of people, and we're going to call this the rant.
Okay.
So this is when Sam gets a bug up his whatever.
Okay.
And
this happened on the cruise?
This happens every time we talk to people.
Okay.
Okay? And this has happened for years, but forget AI, think about social. And what I'm going to say is pizza, Robbie.
Okay.
Pizza. And say pizza again, and I'm going to say pizza, 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 pizza.
Okay.
And what do Italians eat? No, we're not doing that. They eat pizza. But no.
Are we talking about privacy here?
We're talking about privacy.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm saying there is that, like, I can remember when we did social, and we were with a massive association in our industry that we're in, and the head research officer for this association, when we were trying to give him an app, he said, well, are you just going to hit OK and take that? I mean, have you read the policy? You can't just that data, I can't have that. And I was like, man, are you screwing with me?
Right.
Like, are you messing? Is someone shooting this?
Right.
And the guy was dead serious. So how can you be head of technology and research and be so whatever? And he's like, oh no, I'm just not going to give up my information like that. So granted, that is a fair concern of so many people, especially with AI now, is where does my data, or better yet, my knowledge live, right? And I can't share sensitive, privileged, private information.
Even though you bank online?
And blah, 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 blah,
Right,
blah,
of
blah,
course.
blah, 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 blah,
Sure.
blah, 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 blah. And so you got to
Right.
let them get it all out, because they
Right.
need to get it out. And then they get it out. And then you talk about, well, let's just keep it simple to begin with, and let's just not use that private stuff. But then here's the rant part. I said pizza, I said pizza, I said pizza, pizza, pizza. Now, unfortunately, Robbie, your phone, your social feed, your ads inside Google for the next 3 days are all going to be pizza.
Thanks. I like pizza.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
The word I was going to use is too long. Is Corinthian leather.
Okay.
Do you remember Corinthian leather?
Of course, Chrysler, Lehigh, Coca.
Did that come from Corinth, which I went to?
Maybe.
No, it didn't.
It didn't?
It came from Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
They had a $5 million contract, and Bozell, the ad agency, wanted to make this crappy leather sound really amazing and call it Corinth.
Okay.
Different story, different podcast,
right.
But really fascinating. But pizza, pizza, pizza. So now in your stream, you're going to see all sorts of ads for pizza. Why? Because everyone out there has more than 2,000 points of interest about Robbie. And it happens just by listening in, just by hitting accept on your app, just by having your Alexa plugged in over there.
Okay.
Just by your Google search. So when someone starts barking up that tree of, well, I'm not going to have my privileged private information shared with everyone, I agree that would be a valiant, if that's the word, task to follow. But then you have to ask everyone to leave their phones in the
Sure.
car and then go ahead and just unplug that big internet cable from your office, because if they're on the web, there's information. So people are oblivious to the obvious. That information is there.
That ship is already sailed.
So how was that for a rant?
That's a pretty good rant. Yeah, that's good. You know, it's funny, backing up to Pulse and just the pulse of people out there as it relates to the knowledge level of generative AI and who's using it, who's not. I sent you a text this week, our good buddy Chuck Dempsey.
Yes.
So Chuck Dempsey, for those of you, he is literally a legend in the off-road racing scene. Sam and I are big fans.
He is the wildest cowboy ever. He is like Captain America.
Awesome dude at the cutting edge of all things off-road racing. If you've ever heard of the Baja 1000, the Baja 500, Vegas has the Mint 400, but is at the absolute pinnacle, top end, highest of high-level technology. I mean, just he's at the high. He works for a company that literally builds the highest level off-road trophy trucks.
And he knows 0 or 190 miles an hour, and there's no in between on his gas pedal. It's either full
gas,
or off.
Yeah, it's gas. So I said, Chuck, and he called. We hadn't spoken in a while. He called. We had a great conversation, and he's, what are you and Sam up to these days? So went around, shared a few things, and then I said, so we're heavily involved now with generative AI, and I go, I know you're probably familiar with ChatGPT. He goes, what?
Yeah.
I go, ChatGPT. He goes,
they don't have that in the Baja.
He goes, dude, I've never even heard. What are you talking about?
Really?
Yeah, never even heard of it. Which how you're of that. You believe that I'm of the belief that more and more people are obviously familiar. At least they've heard of ChatGPT. And Chuck is like, no, dude, I'm not even familiar with that.
I think that is more than we know now. All these meeting or quick starts that we do, pretty much everyone's heard of it. Maybe half of them would have jacked with it, but not really.
Yeah.
And it goes down. But very few are completely AI. What is that, or how does that work?
No, but we had again, not to go off too much, but this is an interesting conversation. Those guys are driving, close to 200 miles an hour down straightaways in Baja, and they have their co-pilot, and
right.
They have the driver. And I said, Chuck, what do y'all do from from a quality control perspective? Do you do anything to record that interaction and that conversation throughout the race, so that after the race is over, how was the co-pilot's voice flow? How calm was he? How calm was all of that? And he was very open, and he's like, what, we do obviously video. They have GoPros everywhere on those trucks, but we video everything, and they have the audio, but they don't ever transcribe the audio. So to be able to take the technology, because again, they're at the highest of high level, from a technology perspective. So we had a great conversation. I told him we'd try to connect with him here in the next
well,
couple weeks.
that's a great use case there. Listen to what happened.
Yeah.
Or better yet, like take my drive metrics.
Yeah.
Because they have all of that, just like F1.
Yeah, for sure.
And dump it in and say, what do I need to know about this race I just did? And is there something I should do better?
Yeah, no, for sure. So anyway, I didn't mean to boggle us down, whatever. But I just thought that was a fun conversation with him as it relates to somebody that's just new to AI.
Well, we have to get him all AI'd up.
Oh yeah,
and maybe we can get a little boggler logo on the side of his truck.
I know, right? He'd be all over that. He'd be all over that.
Okay, so there is that. Let's get into some other stuff. What do we got next, Robbie?
Well, let's talk. I mean, I don't know if we briefly hit on the fact that, I mean, we said earlier, hey, we're almost a year. I think we are now exactly 1 year. It's the 1 year anniversary of the launch of ChatGPT.
The year which is like 100-year advancement.
Yeah. And what did we always say? We said a few times, if we stopped today, it'd be 10 years. 10
years just to begin to unpack everything and figure out where
it's available to us right now.
Right now.
Yeah, that's crazy if you wrap your head around that.
But New York Times wrote a great article. Actually, some of their authors writers who are authors
who have a lot of consonants in their last name.
Yeah, who are deep into all this stuff and have very high level contacts and connections. They they wrote this article about, is this really as crazy as it seems? Is it really, one, that groundbreaking, that different? And was everyone really that clueless that this was going to happen? And do we understand what the potential is? And so fascinating because of their access. If you go back a year and you look at like a Facebook, which became Meta, because it was all about the metaverse.
And I still don't think people fully understand
the metaverse.
The meta connection with Facebook.
No, they don't. As long as I can go on my feed and see the puppies and my grandmother, then I'm fine.
Right.
No, but I mean, we were on the meta track, and we were on the meta track and doing all kinds of fun stuff. But I mean, you talk about just dropping that and going, oh, look at this new shiny bauble, let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, holy cow.
Right.
But that's us.
Yeah.
But literally, like, the CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, meets with another icon, head of another company that flies in to see him and is in the cafeteria line at Meta or Facebook.
True story?
True story.
Okay.
I mean, this is in the article.
Okay.
And it's like, hey, man, I know you're deep in all the Meta stuff, obviously, hello, but you really need to be looking at, I'm not saying quit at Meta, but I'm saying you really need to see this AI because it is advancing so fast, and I think these other guys are about to drop something that's going to change everything.
Okay.
So, I mean, the article was fascinating because basically it said, everyone was working in AI in some capacity, whether it's like Netflix and figuring out like we always like to say, here's a good movie for you, Robbie, or it's your Siri, or...
Well, that's a great example, though. I mean, just the algorithms behind Netflix.
Right.
And you wonder how that happens.
Right.
Well, it's been happening.
Yeah.
It's been happening.
Well, look at Siri.
Right.
Right? Look at your Google Maps.
Right.
How do you get anywhere?
Right.
Look at Tesla.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much AI infused everywhere, and everyone's been working on that. And yes, this whole thing, which is generative AI, which is based on language, was a project in the works by most. Not anywhere close to what OpenAI had and dropped. And they didn't drop it like, here, everyone, go use this. They shared it with a couple people. I mean, the story tells it. Mm-hmm. They shared it with a couple people, and it just went crazy.
Yeah.
So fascinating. And I think it was a precursor because they had 3 or 4 baller writers. I mean, big time writers put this together. I think it's a precursor or a tease for a new book they have coming out.
Maybe. I didn't read the New York Times, all of it. I did read a similar article on CNN that was talking about the 1-year anniversary. And, the whole premise of that is like, listen, Pandora's box is wide open.
It's wide open.
It's wide open.
And like you said, it's not slowing down. And I heard something this morning too. I can't, this is great. I still haven't unpacked it totally, but people are not good at metabolizing change.
Metabolizing change.
So you have nerds like us who are like, hey, how can we change it today? How can we do that tomorrow? And let's change in this and this and this. But human nature is, let's do the same thing we've always done again and again and again. And while we've had change in the past, like their example this morning that I heard was like, here's the catapult, right? Or here's a rifle. And this technology changes everything, right? Or here's an airplane. Mm-hmm. And it changes everything. And the advantage, and you didn't need any of those, right? But boy, the advantages of when you had it were great. But it wasn't advancing and as necessary and as needed as generative AI is today.
Okay.
So, good article. You should check that out. We'll probably put a link in. We ought to, if we were good, a link into the notes there for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Another article, Robbie. Sorry if I'm preempting.
But I think I know where you're going with this. And I asked you before we jumped on. It's like, how are you going to Fisher Price this?
Oh no, I got one before that.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, and that was Salesforce launched a recent survey that they did.
Okay.
Which they interviewed 14,000 people in 14 different countries. Workers, knowledge professionals.
Salesforce, or these are external?
No, these are external. These are clients.
Clients. Okay.
And so they hit all those people, and they asked them a series of questions all around. And I'm going to pull it up here. Bear with me 1 second. All around what's happening with AI with them in the workspace. First, are you using it? Do you like it? Do you understand it? Do you see the value? Okay. And then what's your company doing? Right? I mean, that's the big question, right? And so their responses were 55% of all employees use AI tools without approval.
Okay.
So they see the benefit and they're using it. Now, they're not going to go tell boss because...
they're just over here doing this.
Yeah, because boss has said, I don't have an answer yet, or I've given you an answer of don't use it.
Yeah.
However, I can screw off for 3 days out of the week if I'm using this stuff. So I am going to use it. And boy, I do sound good. And let me cite my sources for you. Okay? So that was it. And 40% of workplaces where they did this survey, AI is banned. Just flat out.
Oh, completely banned.
Completely banned.
Okay.
So that's a big number. And then the other one that stuck out was 70% said they lacked or had not received any formal training.
Yep.
Not only how to use the AI, but how the brand wants them to use the AI and how they can do that safely and expeditiously within the corporation. So, I mean, I think that's pretty dead on. We've seen that in a couple other reports, and that ought to be priority for 2024 for any executive of how that's playing out, because you can prolong and have another 50 Zoom meetings and come up with the perfect policy and what's the name of our team, and deciding, are we going to use Copilot, or are we going to use the Google product, or hey, do you want to use Boggler, or whatever it may be?
Sure.
You can do that, but the fact is people are already using it.
Yeah.
So you need to jump on that horse. I wrote a great article. Well, I didn't. I prompted it. Yes. Boggler did.
Right.
Yeah. It's a Centaur article. Half
but
Sam.
It didn't get produced if not for you.
No, it's a Centaur. Half Sam, half.
Right.
That.
Sure.
So, but I threw in there our 5 basic steps that as a leader or a corporation you should employ or think about anyway as you deploy AI within your organization.
You should put a link in.
I'll put a link to that.
Yeah.
But basically, first and foremost, as we preach every week, it's about education and training, right? You have to give people that understanding as to what it is, how it's going to work, and how they can use it within their space, right? The next is you need to get a council or a board or a group together that is diverse as possible from all these different departments that you can work on all this stuff as a company and make sure everyone's represented, right?
Right.
You need to create your policies. This aren't rules. You don't break rules, right? This is not about rules. It's about how, as a company, we're going to address and use AI, no matter what the flavor is.
Right.
And then you need to do an impact assessment. So if we start doing this, if, for example, we're using this to create much better proposals, much more creative, much more defined, and do all that kind of stuff, you're going to free up a lot of time. So what do you want those other people doing, right? And what departments is this going to impact, and how do you rework or move people to other duties and responsibilities? I mean, the fun thing that kind of came to light for me this week too, it's not going to take your job, as we always say, but what it's going to allow you to do is a lot more during your job. So all those tasks that take forever are now just done by AI, which now allows you to take up extra things.
Yep.
And so you're basically babysitting the AI that's doing all the menial tasks. So that's one, that's impact assessment. And then you got to develop an AI roadmap. Now, we know that's not long-term, right? That's just like, where and how are we going to do this stuff? And where are we going to attack first, and create small pilot groups and go work in specific departments and have some simple benchmarks and just start moving through it. As we see, we go start applying it somewhere within the studio or wherever it may be, and what we learned in one spot is used for somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's going to evolve.
So that's a good overview of some of the things. Those are just basic things that we ought to be doing. I mean, and you have to clock down because we know everyone's busy.
Yeah.
But you need to go spend an hour or two a week and mess with that.
So I want to hit you with something we haven't really talked about that I think could be fun to start to share with folks. Give me an example of something that you used AI for in the last couple weeks. Not just something personal that you've used AI for to solve for something that came up.
Well, I got two.
Okay.
One just happened moments ago. You guys can't see out there. Maybe we take the camera out there. But one of our studio folks, who's an aspiring photographer, has her first shoot today, like a paid client.
Yeah.
And she is just like nervous, sweating, crazy, right? And I was like, well, what's the deal? You know what you're doing. You can do this. She's like, yeah, I'm just really concerned about lighting. And, I just got to get it right. This is a big deal. It's a special product, and it's going to go in a magazine and do all that stuff. And so I was like, well, you got Iz coming in to help you. She's like, yeah. I was like, look, where is it? So she took me out there, and she said, this is where we're going to do it. And here's a little, you didn't even know this happened. This just happened.
Okay,
yeah. And there was a little, it's homeopathic, I don't know, whatever.
I'm sure it's awesome.
I'm sure it's awesome.
Right.
And I'm going to buy a lot of it, and you should too. Follow the link below.
We don't know what it is, but...
Yeah. And so she's looking at me alien because they're on the production side of stuff. They don't understand the AI stuff that we're doing.
They're Chuck Dempsey.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I took a photo of her setup, which is pretty cool. And I said, hey, I'm on a photo shoot here for this product, which is about the size of a lipstick case, to give it perspective. And I need to light it to go into a fashion magazine. So that style and that look. Give me a step-by-step guidance of the type of lights I need, the positioning I need, and the settings I should use. So I took a photo and then attached that to it, and boom, it spit it all out. And it said, well, you should have a main light here, you should have a key light here, you should have a fill light over here at this degree, it should be at this percentage, you should be shooting at an f8 and do this and this and this. And it shocked me as much as it shocked her. I mean, I thought it would work, but I didn't know. So that was, and then another fun one, and I don't even think you know about this one either, but it's a good prompt, is again, amazing cruise. Saw just crazy historical sites. So one day we're in Corinth, Greece, i.e. Corinthians.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yep, of course.
We've all heard of that,
sure,
right?
Sure.
And we had the worst tour guide ever. And it sounded like it was the teacher from Peanuts. The microphones are messed up. She was messed up. It was miserable. So we asked her to just turn off, and then we'll just use the headsets to listen to her, so it's not coming over the bus.
Oh, okay.
And then everyone just turned it off because they didn't want to listen to her.
Sure.
But we wanted to know what in the world we're seeing, because it was the crazy, most majestic, most unmolested. There was a lot of, like at Ephesus, there's a lot of stuff like put in certain places and
right.
Staged.
Position, sure, staged.
Okay,
yeah.
This was not staged, and it was massive. So I'm sitting there underneath a tree on this cliff, looking at all this stuff with my mom, and I'm like, this must have been something really special. So I fired up Pi,
Okay.
and said, "Hey, I'm sitting here.
Excuse me.
Take my GPS coordinates and tell me."
Take my GPS coordinates. Oh, wow. Okay.
Tell me this had major influence on the writing of Corinthians 1 and 2.
Okay.
Tell me what I need to know.
Wow.
And so in the English accent, because that's what I set my voice to, it says, "Oh, quite an amazing place you're at. This, Paul, the Apostle Paul, spent 18 months there, and he spent that whole time trying to convince the Corinthians about whatever it may be."
Yeah.
And so you're sitting there with the breeze blowing through, a couple tourists are wondering. It was a perfect time to do all this tourist stuff because there's no tourists there. It was just so majestic and amazing. And then we walked somewhere else and said, "What is this, Parthenon made out of?" Well, it's a limestone, and the reason they use limestone is that when you get it wet, you can chisel it and make it smooth. And now this is from this period, and blah, 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 blah. So, fantastic.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Mine's more blue collar though.
Okay.
So I'm a Jeep guy.
Yeah.
I was blown away, and I said I can't wait to share this with Sam.
Oh.
So I have a classic old Jeep that occasionally needs to be tinkered with, and the clutch started giving me a hard time. The clutch would go down halfway, and it wouldn't come all the way back. So I knew something was amiss. So I crawled underneath it, and sure enough, there's a bracket cover that goes over the portion that releases the brake back, whatever. But one of the bolts were missing. Okay, one of the bolts was in, one of the bolts was missing. And I went online, and I'm trying to do all kinds of, trying to pull up schematics on what size bolt it was and this, that, and the other. I get underneath, I take a picture of it. I then go back to Boggler, and I feed Boggler the year of the Jeep, what the issue was, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I need to know what size bolt fits into this bracket. And dude,
you're looking for the R327S.
It's American made. It was, the bolt size was a very normal bolt size, but sure enough, that was the bolt size. So I didn't have to go down, take out the other bolt. So literally, that part just blew me away.
So, and then soon we'll have agency on top of our AI that'll say, "Can I get that delivered to you in the next hour?"
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's crazy.
Still need Robbie underneath there, though.
Yeah, wrenching away. Which I don't enjoy doing. But
so that's a good segue into the announcement and release of Google Gemini. So Google Gemini is supposed to be the ChatGPT killer from Google, which again...
So what was Bard?
Well, Bard is driven by different language models.
Okay, so that's
Bard
a large...
So Bard is going to stay Bard. It's just going to be driven now by Gemini.
Okay.
And we've been talking LLMs, large language models, but now what's popping up is medium language models and small
I knew about small.
language models.
I knew that medium was coming into play.
So Gemini's coming out, and so they do a video, which all the nerds were blowing it up like, "I can't do that." Blah, blah. It's a marketing video. So they're going to talk about all the things it's going to do. It's not doing it right now. So everyone calm down for a second.
Okay.
But they basically had it writing alongside. They had because it's visual.
Okay.
It's multimodal.
Okay.
So right now, ChatGPT has added on vision and audio, added on. But Google, think about it, YouTube, right?
Okay.
Google Images,
right?
Google Search, Google whatever.
Yeah.
It's multimodal, meaning all of that stuff from the ground up.
Okay.
So that has a big, and this is where we're going. This is happening again, not in 10 years, in 10 weeks. Okay? So they have a camera set up, and Google Gemini is following along, and the guy puts a pad on the. I will put a link in there. It's crazy. So basically, he's like, "Hey, what's this?" And Gemini goes, "Oh, well, that's a notepad." He goes, "Okay, what's this?" And he draws a duck, and he goes, "Oh, that appears to be a duck." And then he scribbles it in and turns it blue. He goes, "That's a blue duck." Now, there's only one or two types of blue ducks in the world, this and this and this. And then he pulls up a rubber duck that's blue. And he goes, "Oh." But the point is that it's now watching video or a scene and absorbing that and creating context from
that. Wow.
And there's a small, medium, large. The medium is about to come out in Bard, and the large is supposed to be just next level gamers. I mean, just crazy stuff. So anyway, that's coming out. The medium is equal to ChatGPT as it stands right now.
Wow. Okay. So what about the other one that just launched, Mistral?
Yes.
This is the one I said, okay, how are you going to Fisher Price this?
So this is not an 80s club in Dallas that you wear your Z Cavaricis for, then you peg your jeans at the bottom and have the flock of seagulls hair.
Yeah,
That's
but be careful.
Mistral.
I started my career at the Lowe's Anatole, the home of what? Mistral.
Yeah.
That's so funny you just said that.
So Mistral, to be honest, we haven't talked about or even paid attention to, but 3 or 4 guys left OpenAI, that's ChatGPT, about a year ago, right when they launched GPT, because they weren't going to do it in a safe manner or whatever their reasons were. And they left and they went to France. And they've now got a valuation of over $2 billion. That's with a B.
Yeah.
Okay? And they dropped their GPT killer this week. And they didn't drop it with, look at all this fanfare. They gave it to a bunch of people and said, go have fun with it. I mean, complete guerrilla marketing, right?
Just with the torrent link, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it is open source. So people can start using it. So again, we've all been using ChatGPT just because that's what's been there, but there's all kinds of stuff that's coming out. And it's available immediately for individuals. It's going to take a while for corporate, like Copilot. Remember that great video from whatever? I'll put the video from Google in and all that stuff. But I mean, that's such a slow roll because they're like, yeah, we'll let you do a pilot if you've got 300 people that we can sign up immediately. If. So, I mean, what kind of information and metrics are you really going to get from 300 people inside a 100,000 person company of consequence? So we can't make any judgment on any of that stuff until we start getting.
But it is kind of cool when you think about a company like Microsoft, where you think we've got all this covered. We can see into the future.
No.
Even they're getting.
No, I mean read that New York Times article because it is crazy that they're all still befuddled right now as to. I mean, we're working on this as fast as we can, and I got that other book that is a guy's named Cade. What was that? I told you to get the mysteries of Genius Makers.
Yeah, Genius Makers.
Genius Makers.
That's But this was written before.
So this was written in 2021.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's fascinating. It follows the birth and the godfathers of AI.
How close was it to what's happening?
No, it's dead on. It gives you like all the major players now. Like you hear about Hinton, the professor, who's the guy who's the alarmist. Hey, AI is going to take over and all that stuff. Well, dude, you go listen to a chapter or two. Listen, because I did buy the audio thing, and it's this posh English guy. It sounds really good. But I'm listening to it, and man, crazy stories, crazy. So he just has, it's he and like 2 assistants, and this is in 2017, and they cracked this code of using the neural nets and the natural language processing, and freaking Google and Microsoft and a Chinese company jumped in, and they're all trying to buy, and a French company DeepMind came in to try and buy them, and he's just a professor. And he's like, I don't know how to do all this stuff. I'll tell you what, we'll all just meet in Tahoe,
okay.
And I'm just going to set up an auction, and every day at 3 o'clock, you guys can put in your bid for what you want to buy us for. And so every day at 3 o'clock, and he said, here is the email that you have to send it to. It was a Gmail.
That's funny.
So do you think, I mean, we're all worried about our privacy now. Do you think Google's looking at that?
Yeah,
because they're...
Sure.
I mean, are they?
Yeah.
And will we ever know?
No, but we talked about that. That's been going on.
So when he would have been happy with $500,000, the bidding went up to $44 million, which today that is a steal. But anyway, back then that was like, you're giving $44 million to this crackpot? Forget it.
It's funny.
So that's something to go check out. That's a fun article, and that's a great book, Genius Makers. And I think the New York Times article, the authors, I mean, I know the authors from Genius Makers did that thing. So I think there's going to be Genius Makers 2.0 coming out.
I think we need to wrap this up.
I think we're going to wrap this up. If you would, and if you're interested and you'd like to play with Assist,
we need some ninja testers.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it is just so fun when you sit there and talk and just see the words coming out on the screen and doing that. So let us know. Email Sam at redbutton.ai or Robbie at redbutton.ai. And we're only going to do, we've got a couple people that we're going to put in it, and we're going to put another 25 people into that first beta round. So hit us up, and we will.
We'll figure out if pizza
Oh, dude,
is a problem.
Sorry about that. We'll see what
Enjoy your
feeds
pizza
look
this
like.
weekend.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into the AI show from Think Labs. Don't miss out on next week's episode, where we'll continue to Fisher-Price the latest in AI that will make impact for you and your organization. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an update, and visit redbutton.ai to learn more about innovation for professionals and organizations. By the way, I'm Boggler, Sam and Robbie's professional assistant that takes care of all their busy work. Ever think about all that repetitive, mind-numbing, time-sucking busy work I could knock out for you? That's it for now. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, make it an awesome week.